Sure is nice to take a break every once in a while and get some exercise. Hey, Kyle?
Absolutely. In fact, on my way in, I passed the wellness pod and I heard Heather giving some great tips to teachers on how to stay active.
Ah, helping teachers. Say, when is your next case, Kyle?
I'm sure something will turn up.
Meanwhile, on Earth.
And that's why I've been working on my lesson plan.
That's a great idea, Miss Allison. Learning needs structure. Oh, hi, Miss Kate. How was class today?
It was fine. I just can't help feeling like I could be presenting my curriculum more effectively.
Well, if there's anything we can do to help, let us know.
Thanks, guys. I've got my classroom rules clearly posted, my routines and procedures all figured out. What am I missing?
Lesson plans.
Learning needs structure.
Lesson plans.
Learning needs structure.
Lesson plans.
Learning needs structure.
That's it. I need lesson plans. But where to start? What's this do, I wonder?
This is for the win.
Incoming teacher support request. Deploying now.
Kyle?
Good afternoon, Miss Kate. I'm Kyle Pope. Mission Control briefed me on the way down. Are you ready to talk about lesson planning?
You bet I am.
Welcome to a new season of Launch Your Classroom. I'm Kyle Pope. There's an old saying that I'd like you to think about. Rome wasn't built in a day. Or, plainly worded, great things take time. Do you believe the architects of the remarkable city of Rome carelessly threw together buildings in the hope that it would all turn out okay? Of course not. They needed to plan in order to create wonders like the Pantheon, Colosseum, and the Theater of Marcellus. In order for you to create greatness in the classroom, you too will need to invest the time to create lesson plans. But beware, not all lesson plans are created equal. Far too often, they're in the form of a few hastily scribbled sentences. In order for them to be effective, you have to make sure that they're detailed, connect clearly to your objectives, and contain the essential elements of a good lesson. The best way to get started is through the use of a lesson plan template. Let's take a look at one now.
An effective lesson plan is like a map. It guides how and when you will teach content standards. It allows you to clearly communicate learning goals and timelines to your students. Ultimately, it allows you to see what goals your students have mastered and what you should reteach before a summative assessment. When you structure your lesson plan, consider what you want to teach and how you want to teach it. You can use this template to map out your lessons based on the state standards you are covering with your students. First, fill out the top of the template, the lesson title, your name, your class, and the focus of your lesson. These details seem basic, but they will help you reference and organize your lesson plans quickly when it's time to review. Determine which state standards you are covering in your lesson. You can find your state standards online, as well as sample lesson ideas to lead you in the right direction. Put these in the state standard column of your chart on the lesson plan template. Your lesson might cover more than one standard. Turn the language of the state standard into a learning goal or objective your students can understand. This objective should be the focus of your lesson and is stated as an I can sentence. By the end of the lesson, students should be able to show you that they can master the goal. Once you have identified what you will teach using your state standards and objectives, the real fun begins, planning how you will teach it. Follow these steps to keep your students engaged throughout the lesson. Be sure to hook your students with an introductory activity. This will get students thinking and talking about your lesson before you jump in. Build interest and energy with a lively discussion, short game, or brief video that's been approved by your school. The lesson process will take up the majority of time in your lesson. It should detail step by step what you are teaching in full class instruction and how students will independently practice the content you teach. You should keep lecture to a minimum and build in opportunities for student collaboration, movement, and discussion. Monitor students closely during their coursework. This is a valuable opportunity for you to keep students on task, clear up confusion, and reinforce learning. At the end of the lesson, check for student understanding with a formative assessment that quickly measures their progress in mastering the objective at the heart of your lesson. Use the data you gather from this short assignment to determine what your students have mastered and what you need to reteach. Set time limits for each step of your lesson and stick to them. This will keep your lesson moving smoothly and will motivate your students to stay on task. Like any good map, a strong lesson plan will get you and your students to your destination in a timely, purposeful fashion. So, use this template to get you and your students pointed in the right direction.
When designing and carrying out your lesson plan, it's important to remember that state standard learning objectives can be full of complicated technical jargon that may be a little difficult for your students to understand. So here are 2 student-friendly ways to break down and communicate your standards. First up, I can statements. An I can statement takes the language of state standards and simplifies it so that it becomes a clear, measurable goal for your students. Let's take a look at how Kate transforms a standard into an effective I can statement. The first step to creating an I can statement is identifying the standard you'll be teaching.
Students will compare the structures of the Earth's surface using models or 3-dimensional diagrams. All right, how can I unpack this?
Next, you'll want to break the learning objectives into specific targets. It's helpful to focus on the student action that the standard describes.
Our current unit covers oceans and rivers, so we'll have plenty of opportunities to compare and contrast them.
After you've identified these parts, the last thing to do is to create your I can statement. You can write several statements from one standard, but each statement should focus on just one goal. Make sure to use simple, student-friendly vocabulary that's easy to understand.
All right, I've got it. I can find 5 differences and similarities between saltwater and freshwater features.
Great job, Kate! Now your students can understand exactly what they'll be able to achieve after your lesson. You have a clear metric for if your students met the standard, and you're getting them to a deeper understanding of the content through analysis by asking them to compare and contrast. How about we take a look at those statements in action?
Hi, Miss Kate. Hi.
All right, class. Today we'll be looking at saltwater versus freshwater features.
Oh, this looks like a lot of information. How will I ever understand any of this?
Let's look at our I can statements so we're all on the same page. Patrick, would you mind reading our I can statement out loud for the class?
Oh, okay. I can find 5 differences and similarities between saltwater and freshwater features. Oh, I can definitely do that.
Visualizing goals can help build confidence in your students and make upcoming lessons seem less stressful. Keep in mind that learning objectives for your students should not focus on memorization or repetition of information, but rather encourage students to think critically about what they're learning. Essential questions, or EQs, are another way to push students toward higher order thinking centered around your state standards. EQs are open-ended, thought-provoking, and will spark further inquiry. When you transform the objective into a question, students are already trying to figure out an answer before you even start the lesson.
All right, class, before we dig into this lesson, I'd like to pose a question for you all to consider. Imagine you're a brave explorer that dives into bodies of water all across the world. You open your eyes underwater. What are some of the different ways you could tell if you are in freshwater or saltwater? Patrick, what do you think?
Well, are there any sharks? If there's sharks, it must be the ocean.
Very good. Jasper?
I taste the water. Is it salty? If not, it's a lake.
When Kate's students are able to produce a considered, thoughtful answer to her essential question, she can be confident that her lesson has been effective. By keeping students informed of their goals, you're preparing them for what they should take away from your class each day. Remember, your students' success depends on how clearly you can communicate your state standard learning objectives and how easily they can be measured.
The next day, during Miss Kate's planning time.
For the formative assessment, I'll use red note, green note.
Nice choice. It's a great way to visualize what your students have learned and what you may need to reteach.
Done. Wow, this lesson plan template makes it really convenient for staying organized.
There's just one thing left to do. Put it into action.
I'm ready. Let's do this. Okay, I have my lesson plan all filled out. I'm writing out the agenda for the class so my students know what to expect. Our I can statement is big and bold, so it gets their attention and gives them a specific goal. I am ready.
Hello, Miss Kate. What are we learning today?
Good morning, Arthur. Today is going to be a lot of fun. Here's our agenda. Let's look at our I can statement, then you could start on your bell ringer.
I can investigate how water causes erosion of minerals and gases through an experiment. Oh, wow, cool!
Okay, class, now I want to show you something really cool. Let's see, we have some water here, and what do we have over here?
Looks like dirt. Oh, it's gonna be a big mess.
And what do you think will happen if we pour the water over the dirt?
I bet it's gonna be cool. I don't know about this.
Let's find out.
Ooh.
Excellent, they're hooked and ready to pay attention to the content.
Ooh. Ooh.
That is erosion.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
It's time for our group activity. Let's get together with our assigned partners from yesterday, and we'll work on making that I can statement a reality. That's a great response, Arthur. Would you mind sharing it with the class during our group discussion at the end of the activity? Positive reinforcement will keep Arthur focused and inspired to achieve the I can statement. Looks like Sully needs to be redirected. I see you're on number 3, Sully. Do you remember what happened when the water rushed up against the dirt?
Oh, yeah, the majesty of erosion.
You're absolutely right. What do you think happened to the gases? Good thing I planned such an engaging hook to keep my students motivated to finish their work. All right, class, time for a group discussion. Let's talk about what you uncovered during your investigations into erosion.
In conclusion, I learned that erosion can be caused by water.
So true, Arthur. And we saw in our experiments the effects water has on erosion. Sully, could you tell us more about that interaction? Oh no, time is running out. But it's okay, I can modify this. I'll wrap up this discussion and move on to the formative assessment. Okay, class, great discussion. Our time is eroding, so let's move on to red note, green note to stay on track. On the green note, write something you learned from this lesson, and on the red note, write down something you don't understand yet. Wow, my class really gets how water affects erosion, but it seems some students have misunderstood the role of gases. I'll make a note of that for next year's lesson and make sure to reteach it tomorrow. This lesson plan template is something I could use every day. It helps me keep my whole class on schedule, my students engaged, and my instruction organized. That's the power of lesson planning.
On your best teaching days, your lesson plan is a complete success and you file it away in all its perfection for future use. But we all know that teaching is a process of improvement. If you look back on a lesson and wish you could improve it, congratulations. That makes you a reflective practitioner. You have the ability to change your plans. Because lesson plans aren't set in stone, you can revise them for the next time you need them, whether that's later in the day with another group of students or next year. You may realize, even as you are teaching, that you need to change one of your strategies. Never fear. Simply write your change on a sticky note and attach it to your day's lesson plan, and continue teaching. An excellent habit to adopt is reviewing your lesson plans at the end of the day to consider what went smoothly and what you might need to change in the future. Organized notes or even a teaching journal can help you track your possible plan edits. Return to these notes at the end of the week and decide which changes you want to adopt on your template. At the end of a teaching unit, you might see gaps in student understanding that could have been avoided with different instructional planning. By looking at data from your students' formative and summative assessments, checking for student understanding, and testing out many different activities, you can make a list of what you want to keep the same, what you want to change, and what you want to remove. Start over with a new lesson plan template if that's easier. There is nothing wrong with returning to the drawing board if it means your lesson will be more effective for your students the next time. Breaks from the normal school routine over vacation, during teacher work days, or even inclement weather days are the perfect time to revise your plans for maximum effectiveness. It's also another opportunity to look at those sticky notes from the past and see how those ideas could make a difference in your entire unit of instruction. Guess who is one of the best sources for lesson planning feedback? That's right, your students. You will start to see patterns in what strategies work best, and you can incorporate those more often. Remember, changing is adapting. We only get better when we reflect on our successes and challenges. Learning to revise your plans will streamline your future lessons and result in greater student success.
Lesson planning is essential for ensuring that your students learn the content they need while keeping you accountable for designing ways to deliver important material. Having a template provides you with a sturdy foundation to make your plans become reality. So I encourage you to take the template we showcased in this episode and begin creating comprehensive lesson plans that meet your goals and your students' needs. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it did get built with proper planning. This month on Launch Your Classroom, we're going to continue with our topic on lesson planning by demonstrating how you can organize your plans to make your life a little easier. And next month, we'll be taking a look at some procedures and transitions that will help your class run smoothly. So be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to get all of our upcoming professional development content. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on Launch Your Classroom. How'd your lesson go, Miss Kate?
It was a huge success. I had the students hooked from the introductory activity all the way to the bell.
That's fantastic. I truly hope you continue to do lesson planning.
Oh, I definitely will. I've even got some ideas for revising this one to make it even more effective.
Well, it looks like my work here is done. One to transport.
Back at Mission Control.
This is considerably less fun with one person.
Best 2 out of 3.